Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. We've had a lot of rain. Apparently we've had more rain at the beginning of June than we had for the whole of spring, which is effectively 3 months. Now that has good and bad. The good thing is I don't have to get here throwing tap water over everything, which doesn't do them any good. And I haven't had to come out here with a watering can for, well, a week or so. And I like that. I've got more than enough to do elsewhere without having to do that in the garden. I don't mind stepping in when it's necessary, but when it's every day, like we had in the heat wave and the dry spell, the really bad dry spell, it adds a lot of work into the day. But there's two things you get when you get a lot of rain. The first thing you get is a lot of growth. The second thing you get is that a lot of things get bashed down. The rain actually knocks things down. And you get plants that just flatten over like that. That whole section there is just flopped over. It's not going to perk up, which means it's now got to shoot out from the base to actually get some upright growth again. The crocosmias, they flopped over quite badly. I'm going to have to get some of my stands that I've got. They're two spikes with a sort of semicircle on the top, made out of sort of thick wire, and they help hold things upright. I've got quite a few of them in the shed. Look at that ivy. That's just come from nowhere, all over the fence. And but the other thing is that because of the drought, look at my ferns. That won't recover. That leaf is now damaged for the rest of the year. Now luckily there's still a lot of nice green ferny foliage. Ferns are one of my favourite plants. And when you see them like that, that's the wind that's done that, not the sun. The wind has beaten that frond so hard against the fence that it's knocked half the leaves off. But there's also exceptional growth. But if you think sort of here, these granny bonnets, Aquilegias, that was the very pale coloured one. Well, the drought before the rains came frazzled it. So there's no seed pods. So that can't perpetuate itself this year. So I'm reliant on it coming back next year from the ground. This area here, this has greened up quite a bit. Yeah? And actually perked up a fair bit, including some rather unusual ferns like this one. But then this that has the purple flowers on has just flopped over. This has flowered and gone over in less than a week. See, these are not flower buds. This is where they've been. And I didn't even see that because I don't come out in the rain. But a lot of it is in flower. And the bees like this. This is a type of campanula. And it goes mad. That's the problem. But when the rain hits it like that and it flops over, it ruins it completely. Now the rose itself has got one of these. This is a sucker. So this will be growing from below the graft where the actual hybrid was actually produced on the rootstock. That should be cut off because it's not going to do the plant any good and it saps the strength. This particular Welsh poppy is doing quite well. Some of the others aren't. That one's gone to seed and there's no buds left on it. That one at the back has long since gone over. But this one has perked up because that's produced some seed pods and is now coming back into flower and has lots of new buds and is standing upright. This Aquilegia's flopped over. The rain's got it. So, yeah. It swings and roundabouts wherever you look. This, as I said, the type of campanula, when it can get hold of something, it will climb. And look at the lovely purple blooms up in that shrub. But down here, they've just flattened. They've just fallen on the ground. The tubs are just okay, basically. The bonsai, I mean, this flowering cherry, the Kojo no Mae, has actually grown a colossal amount. That's going to be pretty spectacular next year. The hawthorn with the pinky flowers rather than the white has now gone over, and strictly speaking I should take that in the house and very carefully with my scissors cut off all of those flower buds, because technically if they've been pollinated they will turn into berries and they'll sap the strength of the plant. Now, okay, the berries would feed the birds, the blackbirds would certainly come and take them, but the tree is more important to me than a few berries for the blackbirds, bearing in mind I've got cotoneasters in the garden which will be covered in berries. This has gone mad in the last week because of all the rain and the moisture. Now, all of that growth is a waste of time because I don't want the tree to get any bigger. So that's going to have quite a heavy prune in the near future. The older leaves have lost their red. They've gone to their sort of cloudy green colour, which is what that particular variety does. The not hawthorn. I'll get there in a minute. This one, I mean, look at the new growth on here, with buds coming out from the leaf joints. So again, that's going to need quite a prune soon. My Trident maple is putting on some really long growths. That is going to get thrown away because it basically just died. Now it's managed to put out some new growth, but that's never going to be a bonsai. Not now. It's too far gone. There's huge sections of this that are dead. You know, so it's just not going to grow. This is dead wood. So we will be dumping that. The sister maples, that one and its sister round here, they're doing okay. They're going to need a bit of a trim soon just to recover the negative space. My beech tree that we potted earlier in the year had a massive outbreak of bugs. So that got sprayed, which they're still there. I'm going to have to spray it again. Yeah, they're difficult to get rid of and they distort the leaves. They do that to the leaves. But we'll give it another spray and see if we can shift them. But the tree itself is actually growing quite nicely since it was repotted. I've managed to get a nice extension to the apex, which I will trim back at the point I want the height of the tree to be. And then all I'm looking for on this tree is ramification. I've got the branch structure I'm reasonably happy with. It's got a nice trunk on it, a bit of movement, so we're okay with that one. Now down here, these are rescue plants that have been rescued from bits of the garden. Now that is Mimulus. That's got a long story. That was bought as a pond marginal at my house where the kids grew up when they were little, and it was planted around my wildlife pond, and it managed to blow some seeds around to various places, some of which got in a garden tub. And when I moved from there down to my mum's place, what is endearingly known as the last place, because that's where I was before I moved here, some of them got in a garden tub. That garden tub came here and managed to self-seed in a few places, and these have been rescued. And we do have some buds on here, so you'll get to see. It's important to me because of where it came from and how long it's managed to survive with the various house moves. It's managed to hang in there. And when it comes into flower, and I show you, I'm sure you'll appreciate why. Now this is Rose Campion, which a fair bit of that was lost. The winter just took it out. We've still got some. That, I believe, is what's left in the planted border. That's it, that little bit in there. Hopefully that's going to shoot up and bloom. And the other bit that's left is over in there. And as you can see, one of the plants is shooting up. So we'll definitely get some blooms. I need seed from somewhere. Anyway, so that's rescued plants. Those were dug out of self-seeded bits in the cracks here. Hannah got rescued those. She managed to dig them out with a few roots, and I stuck them in a pot. This is Buddleia, and these were self-seeded plants rescued from the garden. They have taken hold. This one's pushing out quite nicely and has quite a few side shoots. So what that needs doing is the top pinching out, and those side shoots will flourish. This one's already been done with the secateurs. This one's pushing on so well it's getting a bit floppy, so I had to stake it. Back in there is a bit of Himalayan honeysuckle, again rescued from a self-seeded plant. The two geraniums are doing okay. This one has always done better and produced a lot more blooms. But this one is at least got some flower spikes. The maple, Japanese maple, that has the beautiful, almost pure yellow initial colour in the spring, and retains its very pale green throughout the year. That's doing fine. Can't stop that thing. The camellia up in there is finished blooming now. There's still some dead blooms on there, dead heads. Hannah gave that a bit of a prune to take the top down, which should, bush it out a bit. This, whatever it is going to flower soon. So it's a good job Hannah didn't because last time Hannah was down it was so hot we couldn't do a lot of work in the garden. If it hadn't been hot, Hannah was going to give that a massive trim and take it down quite dramatically because it's getting too tall. In a way it's good that she didn't, so we've got some flowers coming. This is what I mean by the heavy rain. It's bashed that rose right down. It won't pick up. It's just flopped. So I'm stuck with that now. That's what the heavy rain does. What else then? Coming round here, some of the ground cover plants are coming into flower. You can see the extended stems, and they flop over and then they come out with nice yellow flowers. And the greeny grey coloured version of that ground cover, they're both the same sort of thing. They're just different colours, but they both have the same sort of flowers, so that's going to flower soon as well. The thyme is taking over in places, and unfortunately that means I'm not going to have a path soon if I don't do something about it. So this needs trimming back to the edge of the path, otherwise it will just take over. And that doesn't matter because it still leaves plenty, so that's good. The forget-me-nots are nearly finished now. I don't touch those. Next time Hannah comes down, it'll be time to actually pull those mother plants out and shake the seeds all over this area to start some new plants ready to bloom next year. But Hannah likes to do that. The geraniums under the hedge, they've drooped because of the heavy rain, not because of the sun. They're doing okay. The pyracantha, yeah, the pyracantha in there has got a lot of dieback, and it keeps having dieback. That huge piece at the back completely died. Now that centre piece has died, which leaves the bit out there and the bit there, which that piece there is covered in berries, so there will be some berries for the birds. This Buddleia is pushing on nicely. I've decided to let it go. Two schools of thought. If you take the tops out, like I've just done on the ones in the tubs, the branches will progress, and each one of the branches will have a terminal bloom and two side blooms. That's how it grows. But my idea is to leave it this time to get some earlier blooms, because I haven't got the other two, they died. So that way we get some buddleia blooms in the garden earlier than we would do if I took the tops out. And then as those blooms sort of die off, then I'll take those terminal shoots out and the branches will progress and produce lots more blooms. They'll just be later in the year. So that's that. So that tub's, between me and Hannah, we've got to try and empty that tub. We've got to try and get those dead plants out because I don't want to waste that tub. That is a smashing tub. It's a lovely blue, a lovely glazed pot that deserves something nice in it rather than 2 dead buddleias, which is what it's got now. Now coming round here, my Japanese larch is going mad. You can see all the new growth on that. That will need a trim soon. It has to be kept. I don't want this to be a giant tree. I want this to be a relatively small tree because it's going to take years for that trunk to become a massive trunk. So I'm working with it as a small tree, in which case each one of its branches needs to be kept in check. The false larch, or golden larch as it's called, is turned into a bush. There's 5 individual trees in there. At the moment the top just looks like a bush. That's not ideal. We need to deal with that as well. Now the tubs that were over in this corner that were just put over there out of the way to get on with the decking, I've now moved. So the rosemary had an awful lot of dieback on it. I've cut all the dead bits off and hard pruned what was left. And hopefully some of these lower shoots will actually push on now and get it back to being a bush. But herbs from garden centres are dirt cheap. So if this doesn't come back into a nice shape, I will dump it and start new plants. So we'll just get a couple of little sort of 4-inch pots of rosemary, 6 inches tall, and replant the tub. The Himalayan honeysuckle, this is the version, the bigger version, that the little one in the tub I showed you earlier, the seedling that's self-seeded. This is the mother plant basically. This has had quite a prune when I moved it because it was too tall and it was losing its bushiness. It looks nice as a bush, but it has quite unusual flowers. There's a lot of bracts and stuff involved, but the bees like it, yeah, on the little flowers. So yeah, that's doing okay. My purple beech that blew off the staging so many times. I got so fed up with it, I've tied it on. So literally I've tied the flipping thing on. It's nice and secure now, it won't move, so the wind can do what it likes. But this has put on a lot of nice new growth. All of these shoots are this year's growth, yeah, so there's a lot of nice growth on there. And this keeps its lovely deep colour by being in full sun. If it doesn't get the sun, it will go a wishy-washy colour, so that's good. This is horsetails, and Hannah and I keep pulling it out. I've put weed killer on it, and it doesn't matter what we do, it keeps coming back. But I just keep pulling it out. You know, it's not like it's taking over the whole garden. The red valerian has... This red valerian here must have been a seed from this red valerian. This is red valerian pink variety, and these seeds were collected alongside the building at Burnham's Orchid Nursery. Hannah collected them, brought them back, and they were planted here. Some of them have been successful, so I've now got pink and red. These are good. This red valerian came out so early this year, we're starting to get seeds already. It's only the beginning of June, so this is going to need a trim soon to get these dead heads off, and then it will shoot out lower down and we'll get more blooms. So it's the art of deadheading. Forget it, you will get seeds and your plants start to die back. It's a job you just have to keep doing. Now this clump is, in my opinion, too close to the path. I can't walk along here now without bashing the plant around. I have to go round, or like I've just done, go round the back. But again, I might get some of my semicircular plant supports, and see if I can clump that in together a bit and pull it back from the path. I don't want to just cut it off because I'd lose a lot of blooms obviously. But what I was saying about the pink, some of the pinks got up here. So some of the pink last year self-seeded and is mixing up with the red. Where Hannah lives, she took some red valerian from here, and she had a lot of red valerian established in quite a lot of the borders that she looks after up near in the flats where she lives. And over the winter, all of the red valerian in the whole area has died and not come back. So all that she's got now is the pink valerian. That is very strange, but she had, because I'm south coast, I get this microclimate. Yes, we had some cold weather, yes we had some wet weather, but we didn't get them together, whereas she did. So she had wet weather followed by freezing. Yeah, so obviously the top ground and pots and things like that froze while they were soaking wet. That's probably what's whacked them. The cuckoo flowers are now virtually finished. This is it. This is what's left. Lots of seed pods, they will be left. They will be allowed to disperse and, you know, reseed in places if they choose to do so. The valerian this side of the path is far enough away from the path that it can get as big as it flipping likes. Now this is the lavender. There were two types of lavender in that pot originally, French and English. One of them died, and this is what's left. And this was not a happy plant, but it has just about managed to shoot out and is going to flower. So I will have some lavender. That's good for the bees, the hoverflies, and if we ever get any butterflies, it's good for the butterflies. And blow me, self-seeded in the pot, because this pot originally was over here near the rose campion. We've got rose campion in the pot. That's staying in the pot. It can be allowed to flower in there. These are good. Now my two pines, my Japanese white pine, not a strong plant. I'm keeping my eye on this wire because I don't want it to bite in, but then I want these two branches to stay in place. But the candles have now opened up into needles. So we've now got a lot more greenery. Greenery equals photosynthesis, equals energy back down into the plant, which produces more roots, which brings energy up into the tree. So this tree is now going to do a lot better. I'm just going to turn it quarter turn so that other parts of the plant get some direct sun. My Scots pine, this plant got incredibly weak. The candles, all I've done with the candles is take out multiple shoots, and I've missed some. See, there's 3 on that branch, so I only want 2. So we take one out, yeah? But this needs a going over to make sure that isn't happening in many places. But again, with all of these candles pushing on and opening their needles, what I need to do is take this in the house where I can stand up and deal with it. Candles like this are too long. They need to be pinched to distribute the energy, yeah? You can't use scissors because, strangely enough, if you trim candles with scissors, you end up snipping some of the needles and they will go brown and die. It's something to do with steel. They just react badly to it. But this branch down here is so weak I'm going to lose it. I'm going to turn this into a gin. Because the concept of this tree is a mountainside tree, and the weather comes in from this side, so it keeps this side short and compact, but it allows it to grow out the other side. So we need to do a bit of work on that one. Oof! Now over in here there's some bluebells in here, there's some primroses, there's some fritillarias, there's some violets, there's all sorts in here. There's some nice ferns, and that's a different type of fern to the other stuff over in the planted border. and some of the rose campion managed to survive the trampling, because obviously when I was here with my son Tony sorting out the decking, plants got walked on. Although I'm quite careful, Tony not so much, but between the two of us we deck some plants. The bugle has taken hold very well this year. That's the sort of that stuff. Now that has, in early spring, there's one there actually, it has tall columns with deep purple flowers on, and they are early nectar for types of butterflies and bees and hoverflies that are out early in the year. Now out in the wild in the forests where that grows, there is a type of butterfly called a pearl bordered fritillary. You can Google it, look it up. They're very pretty. They're orange and black, patterned with beautiful markings on the underside. They exist in places in quite large numbers, but those places are very thin on the ground. They're not a common butterfly, but their early nectar, because they're one of the first butterflies to emerge in the forests, is bugle. So if there isn't any around, the chances are there won't be any pearl bordered fritillaries. They're dependent on that. So I know a place where I could guarantee seeing them, but I'm not going out in weather like this trying to look for butterflies. Chances are I get absolutely soaking wet. So this planted bit here, it needs the ivy taking back. That's a Hannah job. She loves doing that sort of thing. She loves hacking things back to make things tidy. That's what she likes to do. I'd love to do it, but it's all bending, and I ain't too good at that because my back will go. But she'll have a go at that. That's the sort of thing she would have done last time she was here, but we couldn't work in that heat. We had to give it a rest. Now, as far as the decking is concerned, I've got... Ooh. Every time I go to step on this path, I hit the edge of the path and tip over. I've got the two front panels to do to complete this front. And I've got this last board to put in. Now, unfortunately, it's a cut. So a long board like that has got to be cut to length. That's the first cut. And then it's got to be marked so that it can be full size here, yeah, to the end. But back here it's going to be a cut, and I think I can do that with the handsaw. And then all of this rubbish needs to be cleared away, and I need to try and repair the fence and get some plants in here, one of which is going to be a buddleia. That's already determined. But yeah, and then I've made a start on staining the shed. It's a slightly different colour, but hopefully the landlord won't get... It's strange actually. She said, because I said I want to stain the shed because it's getting to look really tatty. I don't mind doing the work if you'll pay for the materials. She said, I'm glad to pay for the materials as long as it's forest green. Well, this is green forest. Close enough. Anyway, so I've got to clear away all this rubbish, and I think the idea now is, because that piece at the back, we should have tried to repair that as well, really. But because it's at the back, it's in a place where there's hardly anybody ever going to walk there. And what I thought about doing to actually stop any walking on that is, those of you who remember last year, I had the bench along here and the table down through the middle. Well, what I'm proposing to do this time is have the bench along there on the new bit of decking, so that there is no need to go behind it. That's my theory. And then that'll mean that that area there can just sit there. Eventually it will rot and fall apart like the rest of it did. So that's that. And then I'll probably put the table quite close to the shed, which will be painted black when I get round to it. And then we come to the sort of sad bit, is that my enthusiasm is not as good as it should be, for an obvious reason. But the bonsai staging needs coating up in black. The tabletop needs coating up in black, and so does the bench, which I don't particularly want to do. Hannah said she'll do the bench for me, so between us hopefully we'll get that going. But my need to rush and get it done has sort of been dampened, shall we say. So there we go, that's what the rain's done. It's made lots of things grow, and it's flattened some things and knocked them over. And some of those won't perk up. They just won't. So what happens with the rose is the rain gets in the blooms and makes them really heavy. And then it tips the branch over and it sort of sets in that position. So it won't come back up again. But what it will do is shoot out. So there will be some new shoots, and I'll just cut the ends of the branches off and let the new shoots progress. As you can see, there's new shoots here with more buds to come, so we will get there. So that's what's going on. Workload left to do. That hedge needs a good trim. That's not going to get done till the autumn, when the planted border dies back and we can see where we're going to put our feet and see to clear up the mess that's going to be generated. And by then the decking will be finished off and everything. So yeah, and getting the table with its black top and the bonsai staging coated up nice and black and looking nice and clean and fresh, and the shed completed with the felt on the roof. The garden's going to look good, but as I said, my enthusiasm's not there at the moment. I need Hannah to generate it. So we will see what we can do. We will see what we can do. And I will show you this. I'm reasonably certain that the blackbirds that were nesting in this corner somewhere have finished, because the toing and fromming has stopped. It's gone. The blackbirds are still coming in the garden and pecking around the base of the feeders, but when they've finished they go up on the shed and over there somewhere. So I think they may have started a new nest in another place, or it's a different pair of blackbirds. But it means that when Hannah comes down next time, we can get into here, we can trim this laurel back because it's getting too tall and it's coming out. So all that new growth needs coming off. This one needs doing as well, and I need to get the hedge trimmer in behind this camellia and cut the bamboo back and get that cleared up. So there's work to do, but what I wanted to show you over in this corner is the mock orange, or orange blossom, and that's not because of the colour, it's because of the fragrance. Now last year was the first time it bloomed, and it only had a few blooms and they weren't very big, but it established that it is definitely the orange blossom nickname. Now it's gone mad up there. All that's got to be cut off. This has got to be kept as a compact bush because it blooms on the oldest wood, which is what you can see here. And these blooms are gorgeous. They're a double, and there's lots of them. And this is the first time it's done this. This is the first time it's had a reasonable blooming. And there is quite a bit of it. And as you can see, it's on the older parts of the plant. So it's the older parts that have to be preserved, and all these new growths have to be cut back to quite close to their base. And then the buds will form in the bit of the branch that's left, which is how it seems to work. But yeah, that's a really good blooming this time round. Really attractive. I can't detect the fragrance, I must admit. But then it's only just stopped raining and everything's soaking wet. So we shall see. So hopefully we can get back to... Oh, it's a damselfly. Hopefully I can get back to getting some work done in the garden. But as I said, every time I want to do something, I sort of think, why am I bothering? And that's a horrible thought, but it's there whether I like it or not. So hopefully we will get back to this garden being finished before the end of the summer. We shall see how it goes. And the scabious down here has got a nice flower on and plenty more to come. Talk about deadheading. It's the first one gone to seed. But the butterflies will land on this. And it is pulling up now. It's actually growing quite well. And all of these growths pushing up here will eventually do this and put up lots of flowers. So that's coming on nicely. The thyme, which is all over the place, all here, 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 all of this, that will flower. I forget what time of year it flowers. There's no sign of it yet. At the moment it's putting on its extension growth, and it's on those extensions that the blooms will come, but there's no sign of any buds yet. But they will come, they will come. And that will look good, and again bees, hoverflies, and some butterflies go for it, but at the moment there are no butterflies. The holly blues, which are frequent in the garden, they're in between broods at the moment, so the early spring brood's gone and the next one hasn't arrived yet, so we'll have to wait and see for those. And I'm not looking forward to dealing with that bramble and actually putting the felt on the roof. Not looking forward to that job, but it's got to be done. It's got to be done at some point, as has clearing away all this old timber and all of it over there and getting it up the tip. Again, it's a job I'm not looking forward to, because all this stuff here, I've either got to cut it with the saw, or that's too long to go in the car, even with the seats down. So I'm going to have to cut it all in half to be able to get it in the car, even with the seats down. But the 3 decking boards that are left, one of them will complete the decking, so that's earmarked for that. The other 2, and these nice pieces of timber left over from the support joists, they will go back to Tony, because he reckons he can use them to make some sort of walk board for his allotment where he grows all his vegetables and everything. So they'll go back to Tony, and the idea is that I'll take them back to him and borrow his staple gun so that I can get that felt done on the shed roof. So yeah, that's what's going on. As I say, there's jobs to do. Hannah will help, she's good at that. She's down in 2 weeks' time, or just less than 2 weeks' time. This coming weekend I've got my Orchid Society's AGM. Boring. But as treasurer I've got a job to do there. I have to do an annual report and all that sort of stuff. And then the following weekend Hannah's down. So let's hope we get some nice weather that's not wet and not hot. And then we can get out there and clear a lot of the jobs. These all need pruning and cutting back. They're getting too tall. And this bush here that puts on a colossal amount of growth, that needs cutting hard back so that it shoots out again. And on those shoots it will flower. It has lovely white flowers. Again, the bees love it. So there we go. That's what's going on. This is going to bloom in the not too distant future. Achillea, I think it is, but I call it yarrow. Yarrow is the wild form. This is probably a hybrid that came from Carroll in deepest West Wales. And this is getting to the point now where I need to do the tips, because this would get 1.5 meters tall and the wind would just blow it over and the rain would bend the branches, and when it gets the blooms on it wouldn't be able to take the weight. So what needs doing is this. You just go round and take out the tips, and then each leaf joint will produce a new shoot, and those new shoots will flower. So it's just it's not a tedious job, doesn't take long. I'm doing it now, as you can see, and I'll do it all while I'm here. You just take these tips out and then they will branch, and the new growths coming out as side shoots will then bloom, and there'll be a lot more blooms than there would be without doing that, and they won't weigh the plant down because the plant won't be as tall. you can see where the new shoots are. Now those will now push on because they've lost the leader. You get something in the top of new shoots, I think they're auxins, and they suppress the growth of the buds below, because all the new shoots, the top of the shoot wants to be the highest point in the plant, and these auxins suppress the growth below. So you take out the tip, you remove the auxins, and then all those side shoots start pushing on quite strong. That's what I'm hoping will happen with the buddleia. You can see these side shoots, they will now push on because the top's been taken out. So there we go, that's what's going on. Overload in the planted border, preceded by a drought and ridiculously hot weather, which has singed some of my ferns, much to my annoyance. There's a blackbird, or one of them. And some of the plants have flopped over due to the heavy rain. We've got more rain during this week, including some heavy rain, potential thunder and lightning. And then towards the end of the week, into the weekend, it's going to get warmer and drier. So they haven't gone any farther than that. I hope we're not going to get another drought and a heat wave. That I really don't need. So there we go. That's where we are at the moment, and the potential workload for things to come, which Hannah will help with. And yeah, it's got to me. It's just got to that little bit of overload where there's so many things that need doing. I don't want to do any of them, but they've all got to be done at some point. We've got to get this garden back to sort of in a finished state where it's usable and comfortable to be in, which I can only hope for. See you next time. Bye for now.